you ever want to like do an internship? I'm like, okay. I mean, I never really had any aspirations.
You took this stuff for granted. You fell into this.
I did.
Here we go. Let me have a seat. It's going to be a bumpy ride. The 15-Minute Morning Show podcast with Nate and Scotty B.
Hey.
And there's Gandhi and Scary and Danielle and our special guest, Joe.
Hey,
what's up? Tell everyone who Joe is.
So it's Joe Malerba. Yeah. He went to St. John's University with me. He was part of the radio station, part of the TV club. He was program director, I think, of radio, right?
Program director.
So at one point he gets up there and he's like, hey, we've got internships for Z100. Does anyone want to apply? I said, I do. And the rest is history.
Oh, and she's here. She's all yours.
We can't get rid of her. Thanks, Joe. Hey, so, I mean, were you a fan of Z100 when you were
Oh, my
at St.
gosh.
John's?
I listened every single day. And actually, I used to call in. Not as crazy as Scary, but I used to call in. And I remember Elliot, who used to work here, he invited me up one day to come up. And I never came up. I wound up coming up once I got the internship. But, yeah. I used to listen every single day, of course.
Thanks, Joe.
You're very welcome.
I'm saying that with sincerity. You know we love our Danielle. Most of the time.
Well, the funny thing is, I, too, was very obsessed with Z100. If Danielle remembers,
yes.
I used to have, in my bedroom, I had a Z100 sign that I had made and had it up on the wall, and I would pretend that I was on Z100. And this going back, prior to your days, Elvis. And of course,
it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, I know it is. It was creepy, borderline obsessive. But and so in college, on our TV side, they said, go out and get some interviews of people who are in the broadcasting industry. And so I reached out to the folks at Z100 when you guys were in Secaucus, New Jersey, and I got to spend the day with the morning show at Z100, and that was like the highlight of my life.
Aww.
So
I don't remember that.
Yeah, and somewhere it's on like a whatever they used to call those things, 1.5-inch tape or something. Yeah. But that was like one of my big highlights. So obsessed with Z100 till this very day. I listen to you guys every morning, and when I was like at that little rinky-dink station with Danielle, I was the morning guy, right? Yeah. I had the morning show, and then Danielle would saunter in and she would do her country music.
I had lots of I had a country music show, the Mo and Turtle show with one of my best friends still,
Wait,
Karen.
were you Mo or Turtle?
I was Mo Monaro.
Okay.
She was Turtle. And then I did a heavy metal show. I did a hip-hop show.
What was your name on the heavy metal show?
It was still Mo and Turtle.
Okay.
I did a hip-hop show.
I like that name.
I remember playing like heavy metal and not like the song was... And I remember putting the mic on and going, yeah, don't know what that was, but it was awful. And then I remember whoever the program director at the time ran in and said, you can't say that. You have to... the music is... You're supposed to like the music. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Well, you're back to hating the music again.
No, I love the music.
Interesting point here, Joe, to the Z100, internship point. Scary started here as an intern, didn't you?
Basically, might as well have been because there was really no money there.
Scotty, that's how you started too, right?
Yeah. Yes, but not at Z100.
Yeah.
Well, in other words, you were all radio geeks.
Yes.
Oh my God!
Were you a radio geek too,
Yes.
Gandhi?
I started as an intern. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in the.
What about
back
you,
in the day.
Nate?
I wasn't a radio geek.
Neither was I.
Yeah, I liked it, but there was an internship opportunity at my high school, and I had to go. It was a private prep school, and so we had an open house, and I got chosen to go read the commercial. So I went to the radio station, I read the commercial, and the DJ, I think it was...
Mo or Turtle?
No, I think it was JJ Fox, if I remember.
Not his real name.
He was the prod guy.
Right.
And he goes, hey, man, you seem like, you're outgoing. If you ever want to, do an internship, I'm like, okay. I mean, I never really had any aspirations.
You took this stuff for granted. You fell into this.
They gave me the morning show.
I fell into it too. I was 14 years old, just needed a job. I'm like, okay.
God.
You were able to work when you were 14?
Dude,
yeah.
Wow.
This was all I ever dreamed of. I used to play radio too. When Z100 came to my middle school when I was a kid, Duran was there. It was the Z100 Rules Your School contest. And I was like, oh my God, a radio station is in our schoolyard. And I was freaking out.
No wonder you didn't have sex until your 20s.
I'm the opposite. I never wanted to do radio until college. I wanted to do television. I was going to do
Broadway,
television
right?
and Broadway and Walt Disney. I auditioned for Disney. And then I was in the elevator at St. John's. Some girl came up to me. She said, hey, do you want to do news on the radio station? And I go, I guess so. Went to the radio station, fell in love, never left, never even went near the TV station.
You still have that lack of enthusiasm, by the way.
Yeah, right.
So Joe, funny enough, is still in this business in a weird way.
So here's the thing. I'm listening to all your stories about how you kind of just fell into it or you didn't want to go into. I, till this day, am a radio geek, like to the point where I can give you the names of like personalities all across the country, and yet most of my day is spent in television, which is so weird. And from television news to local affiliations, and I just turned 50, and we're in the 50 club, and I've always wanted to do radio. Well, I guess this is about as close as I'm going to get to it.
Oh, God.
Counts.
We needed a guy like Joe at our college radio station because it was complete anarchy. I mean, we all did our own thing. But you seem like you have a sense of, I want this to act and operate like a true professional radio station.
was it like that?
It was. I think we literally went from, the program director that Danielle's talking about used to walk around with like dog collars and, cut off shirts. And then here came this like little dorky, nerdy kid and said, we're going to make this a real radio station. And we're going to operate, in some type of a format.
We need that here.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is that like?
Yeah, when do we get one of those?
Seriously,
We
God
even
bless.
gave like good prizes away. I was the promotions director at one point, and I remember calling Universal and all these different movie companies and actually getting prizes and movie tickets to give away. And we did real giveaways on the radio, which was cool.
That is unusual for a college radio
Yeah.
station. Well, it used to be.
Yeah.
For instance, I mean, we'd go up to Syracuse every once in a while and visit. Their radio station was probably better than almost any radio station I ever worked in. They had more resources. They had great studios. It was like the pride and joy of Syracuse University.
That's awesome.
And Z100 was in Secaucus falling into the fucking
the
swamp.
I'm laughing because we had an FM radio station in our high school, and the one contest I ever had to give something away was a single of Con Can's "I Beg Your Pardon." Do you remember that song? I don't
What's
know
a
why.
single?
Scary knows that.
It's a cassette single.
It's got one song on it, which is
Yeah.
not even worth the tape it's on.
It was an electronica song that
Yeah.
Z100 used to play back in the late 80s.
So can I ask Joe a question?
No.
Okay. So why didn't you pursue radio? Like, did you just fall into something else, or?
I just kind of like, stayed with, we had a professor, Danielle and I had this great professor, Marvin Smith, God rest his soul. And he would say to me, he's like, if you really want to make money in this business, get on the sales side.
Yeah, it's true.
So
That is true.
There is that.
And so, I dabbled in things like some voiceover work, and
you have a podcast.
I have a podcast. It's actually on iHeartRadio's
Yeah.
app. It's
What is
called-
it?
It's called The Morning Brew with Joe Malerba.
What do you talk about? What is it about?
I talk about everything from like, family values, friendships. I'll pick a topic, and then what I decided to do was, okay, I can't just babble for 8 minutes by myself, so I bring guests on the show.
I've never been invited.
You will be,
Okay.
but
Be careful what you ask for, Danielle.
You're right.
like a health and fitness instructor has been on the show, and a spiritualist was on the show, and we talk for about 10, 15 minutes, and then I edit it all together. I'm like a one-man show, and then I pop it up there. And one day I just went on to the iHeartRadio app, and I was like, wait a minute, it's on here? And it was awesome. So
It's weird how the podcasts work. I mean, it's on how many different streaming services?
Yeah.
Oh, it's everywhere.
Oh,
yeah.
they're everywhere. Yeah,
Every platform.
You're a
can think of.
superstar. Didn't even know it.
that's right.
Look at you.
Worldwide,
Wherever.
baby.
Yeah, wherever you get your podcasts. Right? That's what they say.
Well, that's what they do say.
That is
See,
what
this
they
is
say.
the great thing about podcasts. I happen to love it. Where, when podcasts first started, people go, aren't you a little nervous? I didn't know. I'm not nervous about whatever. Podcasts, it's just another place to be entertained using your ears, right? Of course, this one's a little different because we also have a camera. But we do have a lot of people listening to this podcast as well.
Yeah.
I think the more we can make people rehearse and practice listening, audio, that's where it's at.
Yeah.
You're in the TV end. That TV's a fad. It'll go away.
Yeah.
Things visual.
Never gonna stick around.
It'll never stick around.
No.
What do you think? Podcasts.
I love
Should we
it.
be afraid of podcasts?
I think podcasts are amazing. I think it gives people lots of opportunity, and it's kind of, I don't want to say evening the playing field, but you get a lot more diverse talent.
That's
group.
it.
You have
Yeah,
a
that
lot
is
more
true.
people to choose from, and it's going to get to the point where, the cream still rises to the top, to the crop, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. I love it. I like
love
competition.
how niche they are too.
Yeah.
Right? Like I have a lot of very diverse interests. Like I love history. I listened to a podcast yesterday about stuff from World War II or World War I or whatever, right? And you learn something about somebody that's talking about something that you're interested about that nobody else cares about. Like you guys would not even, it wouldn't even be on your radar.
You're not as much of a freak as people make you
Exactly.
out to be.
There's other freaks out
like
there.
you. 'Cause, do you ever listen to Mo Rocca's Mobituaries?
Every single one. There's a new one today.
Mobituaries by Mo Rocca. He works at CBS News. Fascinating. He has a fascination with people who have passed away, but what they left for the rest of us in our
You
culture.
know what today's is?
Wait, what's
Benedict Arnold before he went bad.
There you go.
That's good.
I'm gonna have to listen. I'm gonna have to add that one to my library.
But the thing is, it sort of feeds into what Nate's saying, is he's always had a fascination for obituaries. His dad would wake up in the mornings and open the paper to see who died and what they were known for in their town. And so he decided, well, let's do mobituaries. Let's talk about these people that definitely made a difference in our lives without us recognizing it, and let's celebrate them. So if you're on mobituaries, it means you're probably dead.
Oh, God. And the FCC can't fuck with us in the podcasts.
Right? We can say,
yeah.
We can curse, we can say fuck.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Joe, say it.
No.
Joe doesn't curse. Joe has such a good mouth.
Sorry,
really
Joe.
don't.
He's so good.
It's so liberating.
I don't have a potty mouth, but
doesn't.
once in a while I like to throw a good one out there. I won't do it on the podcast.
Okay,
I leave that for
fine.
you.
Only do it when it needs to be done.
When it needs to be done.
Yeah, otherwise if you say the F word all the time, it just loses
Just
its,
like me.
it
You know,
loses
it's
its
me.
slice. It loses its dice.
Yeah.
Anyway. Well, so I haven't started my podcast yet. I'm supposed
Me
to do
neither.
my own podcast. So was Danielle.
I know Sheldon and I are doing one, but every time we go, we're going to start today. No, we have something else going on. We'll get there.
it'll
We'll get
happen.
there.
I asked Matthew Hussey about that because he's like, yeah, mate, why don't you do a podcast? I don't know if he really sounds like that, but he's like, hey, why don't you do a podcast? And I don't know what it's about. He goes, just start it.
Yeah,
Just start it,
definitely.
and you can figure it out along the way. You'll get feedback, and you'll figure out what you like. Just start it.
You're not starting a big budget show where
Yeah.
you have to have it all perfect and all the scripting right and the lighting right the first time. You just start. That's the beauty about a podcast.
I started mine, recorded 5 episodes, hated 4 of them, starting over.
There you
Oh,
go.
there you go.
Yeah. You want to know the name of it? I came up with a name.
What is
What?
it?
Did I tell you?
No.
Sauce on the side.
Yeah, that's
Sauce on the side.
She's
that's perfect.
She's into sauces. It's a
Sauce. Baby hot
strange.
sauce.
Yeah, baby hot sauce, my
So
Instagram name.
this is an extension of your, character of Baby Hot Sauce or the show. I was going to say that I think podcasts are an extension of radio, and as long as we have both of those mediums working. I mean, I'm a radio geek, and I want radio to be around forever. And I have Danielle and I talk about this. We have teenagers, and it's like when you talk to them about on-air personalities, and I'll reference Elvis Duran 100 times in a conversation in a week, and at first they would be like, who are these people you're talking about?
Right.
But because of that, they're now listening. I can't say they're listening every day, but
Right.
they're listening. And to me, to have a 14-year-old say to me, hey, Dad, did you hear Elvis Duran in the morning show this morning? They were talking about blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you were listening on the bus on the way to school? Like, that's awesome. Wow. Because we
Terrifying.
need
It's terrifying.
we
need
need that
that.
generation.
Well, we do,
Yeah.
but going back to what you said originally, there, podcasting is it's our show every day is a podcast basically. It's sort of the same thing.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's how I can see why you, Gandhi, and Danielle have a tough time figuring out or doing one. You guys talk for 4 hours a day.
True.
I thought we don't have a podcast because we just don't know ourselves well enough.
There's also that.
I leave it
and
all up to him. I'm like,
can't
husband, you do it.
I've been wanting a tattoo, Joe, for years. I can't commit to one because I don't know what I'm about. Your tattoo, in my opinion, needs to sort of reflect what your vibe's about, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't know me. Get to know thyself.
I'm worried that some of the things I want to do are going to get me canceled. But I also think canceling is done. I think canceling got canceled, so maybe we'll be safe.
Oh, I hope so.
No, we can still cancel you.
No,
Depends
don't.
depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
There's one I think is definitely going to get me canceled, but I'm gonna roll the dice. So wish me
Okay.
luck,
Oh, boy.
everybody.
I can't wait to hear that one. Is our 15 minutes? I
that
think our 15 minutes are up. Joe, what a
Joe.
pleasure to meet
Thanks,
you.
Joe.
And thank you.
Nice to meet you,
Thank
Joe.
you for the gift of Danielle.
The gift that keeps on giving.
It does.
Yeah, I guess that's what
And
you
it
call
will
it.
for at least how many more years on your contract?
I don't know.
Exactly.